Please put your hands together for Tobias. Tobias, come on. I was a little bit nervous because I said
yes,
Tobias.
I am. I'm a techie, so I have to be nervous on stage.
Tell me, what are we talking about on this stage now?
We're talking about the state of tech in e-commerce.
Okay.
So we've got like the biggest techies from Germany here, I would say,
Yes.
with a combined market cap of about 10 billion, I would say.
Nice.
Depending on how the summer went. So one of them is my former boss, Philipp.
Yes.
Philipp Erler.
Nice.
And the other one is Johannes Schaback, founded Ladenzeile and now working for Home24. And yeah, I'm proud to be with them here and looking forward to talk about tech.
Amazing. Well, enjoy, and please put your hands together for Philipp and Johannes.
Alright, ich glaube, wir müssen uns hier setzen. So, usually I sit here.
Of course you do.
So guys, nice that we're sitting here, right?
Absolutely.
So, awesome. My first question goes a bit more into the nature of techies and what we do. So, I mean, tonight we're celebrating the CTO Oktoberfest together with 40 CTOs in Schützenzelt. And I'm asking myself, how much time is left for partying and celebrations in the life of a CTO of a publicly listed company?
Well, very little, except for today, right? So today we have to make it count. So no, there's very little time actually. So we spend a lot of time with organizational issues, with improving our organization, finding the right talent, making the right decisions on tech, which technology to use. That's pretty time consuming, I would say, right? Isn't it?
That's true. I guess the time left before partying usually goes for your kids. So
that's right. Although I recall,
really looking forward to tonight.
I recall in the early days when we were an actual startup, we hanged out on every night and came back at 3. But those days are over, unfortunately. So enjoy those early days of your startup. It's really, value them. It's really, really cool. You will miss them.
Okay. Today, you don't really look like the typical nerds. I mean, well. Okay, we're wearing lederhosen.
We didn't have that much choice.
We're wearing lederhosen, so that is like kind of a uniform. I don't know if you would normally wear hoodies. So I'm asking myself, how nerdy would you consider yourself on a scale between 1 and 10? And 10 would mean that you dream in C++. I think, to make it easier, I'm a 7. I'm a 7.
That's pretty good.
7 is pretty good. It depends on the day. I mean, it would never be C++ for me, but if you think Scala or Node, depending on the day, sometimes an 8, most days a 2, I'd say.
Most days a 2.
Yeah.
So you're more a backend guy.
It depends on your daily condition.
Yeah.
You're more a backend guy.
Well, that's actually not really true, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes JavaScript, but I mean, that's a very short dream. So.
Yeah, but JavaScript is not really a language, isn't it?
That's why the dream is pretty short.
It's been an accident in the mankind of history.
Yeah, but accidents.
No, that's PHP. That's PHP. Well, yeah, but we have to take care with nerdiness here. I think I don't know how many developers we actually have in the crowd. I don't see too many, to be honest.
Give us a show of hands.
Could you raise your hands? How many developers?
Woohoo!
Okay, wow.
Well done.
Not too bad. So that leads me to my next question. Talking of nerds and geeks, I mean, Philipp, I think you have over 1,000 engineers, right? Is that true?
Yeah, way above 1,000.
Could you? Yeah, okay, way above 1,000. Wow. Yeah. Could you give us like a hint where to find them? I mean, if you were like founding your startup now, where would you find the perfect geek?
Well, if I would found my startup today, I'd rather. I mean, but that's easy to say. I would always go for someone you can fully trust, and it likely means you know the person, you know what they can do. You don't necessarily need to have worked with them, but you should know really well what they're doing. So that's what I would do founding today. But in the end, I mean, we're close to 2,000 people in tech, so there's product engineering, data science, It's of course not all people I know. I guess the key things are, even if if you're founding your company, you need someone now. Be rigorous. Go for trust. Understand whether the person has drive and knows what they do. But in the end, I think the most important thing is the trust, integrity, and drive. I think it's more important than knowing perfectly what you need to do.
Okay, now you have the criteria, but where do you find engineers? I mean, that's like a typical, everyone in the crowd has to know that issue. You have LinkedIn, you have Zing, and everyone is searching on those platforms.
Yeah, you've got LinkedIn, Zing to some extent. You can, of course, look at Stack Overflow. If you filter some of the cultural things over there, you can go for Reddit if you go for the right groups. But in the end, it can be .NET, it can be Bangalore, it can be somewhere in rural China.
I guess
in the end, go for the right person, not where they come from.
Exactly. So I think in the end, there is no secret sauce, right, to talent acquisition. So everybody has to find their own way, and it depends very much on the stage of the company, right? So you need to play your strength, right? I mean, we at Zalando and Home24, we have our strength in our tech stack, in our community, in the talent and the knowledge that we have in the company to educate people. But if you're founding your own startup, then you need to find your own strength. Maybe it's a very particular problem that you're solving, and that's super, super exciting for others to hop on that train and help you solve that problem. So it very much depends on your very integrity of the company and what makes you, what's at the core of your business and what you're building there.
So to keep it short,
that has to get out, and you have to spread that word, and you have to shout it out, and you have to repeat it every time again, over and over again, and then people start to listen. And then you have to go to in all these different recruiting channels and try to make people listen to your story.
And at the beginning, you somehow do it through your network, right? So you wouldn't search on Stack Overflow directly because you have all that noise that you mentioned.
First, that noise, but also, especially, given this audience, if you don't have the background, it's of course a bit difficult to engage in deep discussions right away. That's something you can do later when the team's a bit bigger and stronger and can participate on eye level. But as Johannes just said, if you have a compelling story and you're really passionate about it, I guess those, 20 people who raised their hands in here would fully sign that engineers go for impact. They want to have impact. They want to, and we have creative tools in our mind or in our brain. We want to have impact with them. And if your idea is big to give impact, if you can bring this or just tell a compelling story there, that's an important part. And then go for the network. Maybe, the smaller brother of your friend or so, or the bigger sister, the bigger cousin of someone else someone you met last summer on some wedding or party, that might be the right person for you. Just spread the words and talk about it. I think it's one of the things that is really difficult with this. I'd say at least in the early days where we founded our company 10 years ago, everybody was super hush of what they were doing. I guess I'm not sure whether super secretive. Not sure whether this is the same today. This essentially limits your ability to recruit talent, right? Speak about what you're doing early, often, and loud, and passionate. Then you'll get people who are equally passionate and want to have this impact.
Yeah, so you get feedback, right? And people may even say, "Hey, your idea is bullshit," and you may actually do something else. Right?
So it all starts with employer branding, basically, right?
That's true, and in the end, be aware, employer branding means basically branding yourself and not a big company, right?
Okay, understood. It's easy to adopt, right? You can just start straight away to live your idea, and
I guess you should anyway, right? So if you you should live your idea, otherwise it will be a bit difficult.
You should dream your problem.
Your customer problem.
Your customer problem.
Okay. Enough recruiting. Let's talk product. So, what are you proud about? You both have quite compelling stacks, and you have I think from logistics to front end problems. You have challenges everywhere for engineers. What are you proud of? What is the thing that nobody knows about, but that it's connected to your company?
So in my chest there are two hearts, right? So the first left, I'd say, part of my heart is about what we build as a product company. So as at Home24, we're very dedicated to offering a great variety of different furniture and delivering it very, very fast to our customers with a very pleasant shopping experience. So that's something we're very, very proud of. On the right side of my heart, there is the techie in me, right? And as a techie, you need to understand in order to basically fulfill such a complicated business model as Home24, we're looking at a very complicated tech stack, and we basically do, well, we do many things right, but one thing we do in particularly, right, I would say, is how we think about data. And Home24 is very committed about its data strategy, where we're gathering every data piece that is emitted in the customer journey or in the fulfillment platform, which truck gets unloaded or loaded when, in which warehouse, and we put that in one huge data warehouse. And we basically take this very unstructured data, structure it, and feed it back into the business in order to solve, and that's the point, all small optimization problems holistically. And this is what I think is really, really great. And we were very, very committed about 3 years ago about that already, and we're still very committed to that vision that we want to solve all local optimization problems, which part of a chair or a table to order when and to place it where in a warehouse, which is a very local problem, you may think of that. But holistically, because we can also incorporate logistic change, weather data, and stuff like that. So that's one particular piece of our strategy there, which I think is pretty cool.
Good pitch. I mean, you're on board for 5 months now?
Six. So I think I should be out of my probation period. I don't know.
Lucky you. Yeah, it's as of today, I guess, right?
Yeah, as of
October.
today.
Yeah.
You're right. Thank you.
No, but yeah, then that's
You keep track of that, right?
I like the distinction between product, in the end, what you solve, what kind of customer problem you solve for. What I'm particularly proud of there, especially for, I'm now 8.5, close to 9 years with the company. Lots of stuff that went well, more stuff that didn't go well. One topic I'm particularly proud of, especially from the last 1.5 years, is how we're solving sizing as likely the one problem in fashion, not only in online fashion, but in fashion overall, where we have a huge program, very holistically, data-driven, but also very physical. That we have people with perfect feet trying on every single product. I didn't know that this is actually a job description, having perfect feet. That's a great problem to solve, because in the end, for our customers it's great, because they get what they are looking for. We're not only helping them find something they like, but also make sure they can keep it, and they're feeling good in what they wear, right? Like your pair of pants. Right? So Toby bought a pair of pants with us.
A little bit of story behind my trousers. So I bought them at Zalando, actually.
Yeah, and you had a diet over the last 2 days, right?
It's not fitting perfectly, but, Zalando didn't recommend the size, actually, in my case.
You had to put that in his pants such that it doesn't go down on the way to the...
No, but that's a customer problem I'm very proud of solving, because that's also something that's not really solved yet. And always love it when you solve problems that are not solved yet, and you can really move the needle forward and build something that's making a dent. More on the technical side, there are just things at our size. Like close to 2,000 people working on our tech stack. Of course, not on the same product, but across lots of different things, lots of initiatives. At some point in time, you just have to solve from your architecture has to solve your organizational problems. It needs to make sure you don't have to spend time aligning. You can have small teams running in parallel and fast. And as I'm not a techie by profession, but I actually have a business degree, it's actually awesome to blend in what I've learned in those 2-3 courses I attended on macroeconomics, on how to organize an architecture and how to optimize for small teams and essentially put them into competition, competing for visibility and thus customer eyeballs. That's an architectural change we're currently working on. It's interesting to see that solved, because you essentially replace all discussions, all alignments, all the OKR sessions with essentially a free marketplace.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting. And
Yeah,
but
I know.
To sizing is like,
Yeah.
do I have to have perfect feet to work at Zalando?
No,
or?
not all. It's just 4 people who have perfect feet.
Okay.
But it's actually it's very interesting. I mean, they're trying on hundreds of pairs per shoe per day, and then describing the little bits and details. And you would actually be surprised how also, let's say, how much tolerance also major brands have in their sizes, and really figuring out what to recommend you. At one point in time, isn't that easy, but then there are also patterns in people's lives, let's say developments, if you will. Bodies change, our taste changes, and building this into a big machine learning model is a huge feat. And it's really, it's great to see customer adoption picking up, and feedback you very rarely get, at least as a large company, such like overly positive, very appreciative of what you're doing there. So changing a solving a customer problem.
Okay. And do you both have like to make it understandable, like augmented reality labs as well in your companies, where people use their mobile phone features, like the new features, to measure their bodies or their homes? Is that? I mean, that must be something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Sure.
particularly for furniture, augmented reality is very, very important. I think next to gaming and maybe porn to some degree, in furniture, there is the only real use case for augmented reality.
Yeah.
So for us, it's a very, very important aspect. Our daughter company, Mobily in Brazil, they're very successfully running a certain degree of their business through an AR-enabled application. And the good thing about this is that we're in the age of conquering the last private space of consumers, which is their living rooms, right? And so if you don't have, you can't order 15 beds or maybe 3 beds to try them out, but you need to be sure at the moment you purchase it. And in order to get that warm and cozy feeling as a customer that you're really buying the right piece of furniture, which is like high value, right? Quite expensive. You need to have some sort of preview, and it really helps you to get that warm and cozy feeling, to see it in your living room, right where you live, which is your sacred place, right? Which is very, very private, which is very, very intimate. And that's where augmented reality comes into play. So we're experimenting a lot with that, and that's very important to us. I mean, in general, 3D for furniture and all is very important. So we're going to see a lot coming out of that in the future.
Can you imagine? And I think it will take a while until you really measure your feet with the Measure app or the Zalando app at home, or?
Well, I mean, technically the problem isn't that difficult anymore. So
Yeah.
we've got a couple of prototypes. They're actually giving very good indications on sizing. The problem is rather the let's say what's the actual use case customers would love to work on. We've built a couple of prototypes. We've done a lot of user testing. In our case, I mean, it's maybe not the sacred space. People are really uncomfortable with, in the end, showing say the things they're not that proud of, or they're not that comfortable with regarding their bodies. And finding let's say this perfect use case that's really solving something for our customers is something we're investing a lot into. But so it's not so much anymore solving it technically, but really investing into the product and finding something that scales.
Okay, interesting. And Philipp, you mentioned you have a business degree. I think you studied at WHU, right?
Yeah, awesome times.
Awesome times. Would you recommend every founder to like somehow learn coding, or at least experiment with it and
Yeah.
enhance himself or herself with it?
I think it's something, it's not that difficult to get a high-level understanding of how engineering or how software works. If you're somewhat, if you're able to solve some math problem, you're also able to code. And I think, it's of course different if you then look into machine learning and all these like really heavy at-scale engineering. That's maybe not something you should invest too much time in the first place into. That can come later. But understanding how software engineering works, how you think about problems to solve them, it helps you think about how your company should work. both from a technical perspective, but it also helps you solving problems a lot better. And I think that's, you do not need to learn this in, I don't know, with a coding course in the first place. It's more about how to solve problems structurally. You could also do this, I don't know, there are sometimes these nice puzzle exercises where you build these mazes. That can also help, but in the end, I think today it's crucial to understand how, in the end, digital works. Only if you understand the rough details, you'll be able to also communicate with your colleagues when you build your company. But as I said, I think it's perceived as being a lot more difficult than it actually is.
That's absolutely right. I think it has some weird barrier of entry. And I think many of us are very, very proficient in Excel or other tools that we're using and we're exploiting and where we're basically trying to get the most out of that particular tool, such as Excel. And it's not that far off to coding. Obviously, to really understand...
I would actually jump into that. I would actually recommend everyone who's using G Suite to understand spreadsheet scripting. I mean, it's just JavaScript, It's easy. And it's I would say it's somehow a life hack, yeah? You can save that much time communicating with your girlfriend or I don't know whatever you do in spreadsheets, yeah?
Through scripting in a spreadsheet. Yeah, she will love that.
You can use scripting everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we did our wedding at the time when we planned our wedding. We did a lot of scripting in our Excel sheets actually, or in our spreadsheets. Yeah.
But you're married to an engineer. I think that is like...
Well, that helped, yeah.
That helps, yeah. I have to be careful at home. Let's touch another topic. Let's touch fuck-ups. I mean, I know
never had
that
any.
Never happened. No. I want to know which fuck-up you want to talk about, actually, or you are allowed to talk about publicly on stage. And I would want to know the biggest.
Well, I think I mean, fuck-ups, like every company has some sort of, error culture or fuck-up culture, or name it as you wish. The important thing is you need to have fuck-ups or screw-ups in your company in order to learn, right? So for me, it's always important that you do, if there is a screw-up, it's okay if it happens the first time, and the second time, well, that's a little bit painful because we shouldn't have learned about it. But it's very necessary for a company to improve and to stay very rigorous on exploring, the ambidexterity of trying out new things while, optimizing the core business. You need to experiment. That means also failure. But for us personally, I don't know. Back in the days when I was still coding myself, I frequently released code that crashed the main site. Not at Home24, but at Ladenzeile. And that cost, I don't know, incredible amount of money. And I was actually close to tears when that happened. Maybe I didn't learn enough because it happened twice or 3 times. Or I tried to, we had a huge database for storing the images at the time. And I somehow dropped the index on the images, which kind of made like 300 million images going offline like that. And rebuilding that index took, I think, a week. So that wasn't cool. We survived and we stayed profitable. So I think I learned from it. You're not laughing.
It's something similar.
It's compassion.
Yeah, but that was at Ladenzeile, right, back in the day. But I think errors are important, but in a safe environment.
Mm-hmm. We only have a few seconds left, Philipp.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't make any mistakes.
Right.
Okay, like one just very concrete question. Do you have a favorite tool that you would recommend everyone here to use? So I'm, for example, using Kibana a lot and Elasticsearch, which is a very nice tool for data exploration, and everyone can use it. Do you have something similar that you would recommend? Last word.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's a very big question. We could easily fill 20 minutes with that.
Yeah.
I just want to fill 1 minute.
Well, as a very rough advice, I would always look at, there's a commoditization going on with back-end stuff, such as, how to index and stuff. So there's a lot of cloud-hosted, commoditized services that are really, really helpful, especially if you're a small enterprise or a small company. That's something I would definitely look at. Try to,
BigQuery.
Make or buy, so there's more and more make. stuff like that. I thought about tooling, like how to organize yourself personally. I use Google Keep a lot recently. Yeah.
Google Keep.
Yeah, Google Keep. It's kind of
Don't know
like
that.
a note keeping thingy. Yeah, not
Something new.
not that advanced actually.
Yeah. And it's something I would really recommend you, and it's necessarily, you can use any monitoring tool for that. My personal favorite of the last month is Prometheus, the whole Prometheus stack. Use a
SoundCloud, right?
Yeah, I think so. Use something, use a technical monitoring tool to monitor your business. For whatever you do, be it just signups on your website or your processes, use a technical tool because it gives you, if you put in the right thresholds, it gives you a Telegram message or an email or whatever way you like, notifies you whenever something goes south immediately. Understanding your business in depth is something we've done from the very beginning on. I think that's something, and it's a very old tip, now 9 years, close to 9 years, but it has us kept afloat through all the mistakes we made. A lot of very big ones. As said, recently Prometheus, Zalando has it's called Zmon, you can use that as well. You can use the old Isinga stack. You can use Datadog as a hosted solution. Lots of different tools there, but pick one and model your processes.
Okay, thanks a lot. Good talk.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.